Zhang Weili is the best underdog at UFC 322 this weekend. Disagree? Stay around because I'll explain why. I'm going to do a bit of a breakdown on the fight between Valentina Shevchenko and Zhang Weili this weekend. Zhang Weili is moving up to go for the flyweight women's world title, and Valentina Shevchenko is defending her belt. I want to talk about this matchup in particular. Number one, because I am picking Zhang Weili to win. Number two is because I do believe that she has the most value on this whole card as an underdog. And out of all the underdogs, I'm the most confident in her. And I'm going to explain why. So we're going to look at basic stats first. As you can see on the screen in front of me, Valentina Shevchenko is slightly older than Zhang Weili, 1 year apart. Um, She is the taller, rangier opponent. She is predominantly a southpaw. Zhang Weili is a switch stance, but mainly an orthodox fighter, and she is right-handed, so you will see her in orthodox more so than southpaw. Zhang Weili does have the edge in significant strikes landed per minute by just over two more per minute. Now, the takedown average is very similar also. One thing I want to talk about is the wrestling in this matchup is something we will start off with first. So as you can see, in a 15-minute average fight, Valentina Shevchenko lands 2.62 takedowns per 15 minutes, and Zhang Weili 2.2. So very, very similar. Now, if this is the case in this matchup, and it is 2.2 for Zhang, and it is 2.6 for Valentina, then more so we're going to play into the damage, significance, the significant strikes, which is a two significant strikes land per minute advantage for Zhang, which I believe would be more telling and more significant than zero point 0.4 of a takedown, whether that's, one in every six. Um, But we look at Valentina's second recent fight against Alexa Grasso, where she relied on her grappling to beat Alexa in the trilogy. Um, I believe that this is something that Alexa wasn't really prepared for, and that she wasn't expecting from Valentina. Valentina's predominantly mainly a technical counter striker, kickboxer. She's a 17-time Muay Thai world champion, I believe. So I believe it was right of her to prepare for that style. But Valentina shocked us. She came out with a grappling heavy approach, and she got the takedowns against Alexa, and she dominated in that trilogy. I don't think she can do that here against Zhang, and we're going to get to the feet, but essentially, I do believe Zhang Weili will win this fight on the feet. I'll explain why soon, but with that being said, Valentina's going to have to rely on the wrestling here. And can I trust in her to get those 2.62 takedowns on average per 15 minutes against a girl like Zhang Weili, who is coming off of a 5-round fight against Tatiana Suarez? Now, in case you guys don't know, Tatiana Suarez was a multiple time medalist in women's freestyle at the World Championships and at the World Junior Championships. She was also a silver medalist at the World Cup and a gold medalist at the Pan American Championship. So Tatiana Suarez has a lot of serious credentials in wrestling, and Zhang Weili was able to dominate her. Watch that back. The comparison between wrestling of Tatiana Suarez and Valentina Shevchenko is massive. It's massive here. And if Zhang Weili can stuff the takedowns of a woman like that with those credentials and undefeated 11-0 going into that fight, she can do that to Valentina, and she will do that to Valentina. Valentina Shevchenko will not have the success with the grappling that she had against Alexa, a little bit against Manon. She will not have that against Zhang Weili here. Zhang Weili was able to stuff Tatiana Suarez's takedowns, ragdoll her, throw her around, inside trips, got in mount, threaded submissions of her own, and was able to dominate a world champion wrestler. And Valentina Shevchenko, like I said, doesn't have the credentials that Tatiana Suarez has. I believe that this fight's going to start on the feet. I believe, like I said, It's going to be Valentina in the southpaw position and Zhang Weili in the orthodox position. It's going to be Zhang Weili going forward and Valentina looking to counter strike. As we all know, Zhang Weili is a very, very powerful woman. She's got knockouts over Jessica Andrade. She's damaged and fucking brutalized Tatiana Suarez, hurt her. She damn near knocked out Amanda Lemos as well. Um, she's got a lot of stoppages and a lot of finishes, and she's very well versed. I believe she's got 11 knockouts, 8 submissions, and 7 decisions. So she's very well versed. This is this is the type of matchup that beats Valentina here. Someone who is well versed in the grappling, who can offensively wrestle and defensively, as we saw against Tatiana, who can go forward, who has very good boxing. She has very good low kicks. She has very good work inside the clinch, and she has 5 round cardio, and she's younger, and she's fresher, and she's the one going up. If we look at Valentina, her last 5 fights, we have seen that she's most definitely on a bit of a decline. Before those 5 fights, she was getting some finishes. Lauren Murphy, she finished. Caitlin Chikagan, she finished. Jessica Andrade, she finished in that very impressive crucifix back at UFC 261. And since then, I want to talk about that Tyler Santos fight because I believe she lost to Tyler Santos. And this is a fight that a lot of people aren't looking back on. They're not watching the tape on. They're kind of ignoring and they're seeing it as like it never happened because Tyler Santos is out of the UFC now. Tyler Santos then went on to lose a more definitive decision than what Valentina won against her to Erin Blanchfield, and then also lost to Dakota Ditchinova in the PFL as of late, got TKO'd. So that loss or that win isn't really aging well. Nonetheless, it was a split decision. So it was 3-2 either way. I believe it was 3-2 Tyler Santos. A lot of people did. If you believe it's 3-2 Valentina, fine. That still benefits my case. A 3-2 decision with Tyler Santos, who's on a losing streak and out of the UFC now, and was never impressive to begin with and didn't even have any notable wins, that doesn't look so well. Then, she goes into that fight with Alexa Grasso, that first one. And one thing I want to talk about is the forward pressure of Alexa we saw in that fight. She struggled. She struggled with the forward pressure for the first time in her career. We really saw someone wearing on Valentina with the boxing. Zhang Weili, predominantly a boxer rather than a kickboxer. She uses her punches more than she uses her kicks. She does have good low kicks, but she goes forward with her heavy hands, as was Alexa Grasso. Um, Zhang Weili a lot more powerful than Alexa, and Alexa was able to knock her down. Alexa was able to hurt her. We saw her knock her down in that second fight. That was a draw. She knocked her down. She got on top of her. But even before the rear naked choke in the first fight, Alexa arguably won 2 rounds as we were into the fourth. She definitely won round one, one of the rounds, not round one. And she arguably won 2 rounds going forward, using that boxing style, kind of like that Mexican forward pressure boxing style. And Valentina didn't know what to do, and she was struggling with the timing, and she was struggling with the significance that Alexa had. Alexa was landing some very clean shots, and if Zhang Weili is going to land those shots on Valentina, it's going to have a lot more significance because number one, Zhang Weili is quicker on the feet than Alexa. She does land more than Alexa, and she's a lot more powerful than Alexa. So all three things in favor, benefit my case. If she's going to struggle with the forward pressure and the boxing that Alexa gave her, then she will also with Zhang Weili. Then, like I said, we look at the trilogy, relied on the grappling because she struggled with the striking. She's not going to be able to do that here. If she's struggling on the feet with Zhang Weili, which I believe she will, she's not going to be able to switch it up and go to the wrestling because as I mentioned before, Tatiana Suarez, such a credentialed wrestler, had early success in round one against Zhang, out the window after that. Zhang was able to stuff the takedown, trip her, get into mount, ground and pound, big shots, wear on her, hurt her. And Zhang Weili has insane cardio. The pace that was put on in that Tatiana Suarez fight, the Amanda Lemos fight, the Yan Xiaonan fight, and we see these mediocre performances from Valentina as of late. The Manon Fio fight, very close, 3-2 for Valentina. The fight before that, like I said, Alexa Grasso relied on the grappling, got the win. Before that, a draw. Before that, finished, rear naked choked. Before that, a split decision with Tyler Santos. So the last five fights aren't a good case for Valentina here. But then if we look at Zhang Weili, she just dominated and beat up Tatiana Suarez, who was 11 and 0. She beat her. Before that, Yan Xiaonan. Now let's talk about Yan Xiaonan because Zhang Weili choked her out. Let's not forget about that. She choked her out. It was a bit of a weird situation. It was like on the buzzer, and she was like half out of it when she got back up. Her corner was trying to wake her up and put ice on her and pour water on her and really try and get her going again. She did get choked out, and another 2 seconds she would have been out cold, properly, like limp. So it was probably like just in that fine line where she was like a really about to like go limp, but she was out for a moment, momentarily. So arguably she won that fight by rear naked choke in round one against Yan Xiaonan, which is very impressive. Amanda Lemos, which is one of the most dangerous and has one of the highest finishing potential um, in the UFC women's division on the feet. She was able to drop her, dominated her, brawled her, 50-45 to her. Like it was nothing. The fight before that, Carla Esparza, former world champion, dominated her like she was a nothing burger, took her back and submitted her without a body triangle and without hooks in. That is the type of strength that Valentina is going to be dealing with. That is the type of grappling that she's going to be dealing with. Zhang Weili to rear naked choke Carla Esparza, predominantly a grappler, like that and beat her in her own game with no hooks in, no body triangle. Valentina's lost 4 fights ago to Alexa Grasso when she took her back. So there's a little bit of a hole and a weakness in there, and Zhang Weili has multiple rear naked chokes. Um, so the finishing potential is all there for Zhang Weili here. I believe she does have the cardio advantage because Valentina did have a higher significant rate um, more than 3 years ago. So like it's dropped off in the last 3 years. So she is on the decline. She is older, like I said. Zhang Weili is moving up, but I don't believe there's going to be a big size advantage here. Valentina's 5'5", Zhang Weili's 5'4", so I don't believe that's going to be a big issue. Um, and the one thing here is, I think Zhang Weili wins this on the feet. Number one is because of the activity that she has rather than Valentina. She has the more activity. We know she's got more power and she's arguably quicker. I'd say Valentina's the better kickboxer, better at using her low kicks, her roundhouse kicks, especially with her back leg, her teeps. She's the better kicker, but I believe Zhang's going to be able to go forward and essentially not even have to worry about the hands of Valentina. She's going to be able to go forward, land the more significant shots. If she is backing her down, I expect her to hold her against the cage for a short period in between some rounds because she's going to be going forward and it's going to initiate the clinch. And against the fence, she's going to be holding dominant position and she is active in the clinch, which I like very much. So as long as Zhang Weili is careful with the low kicks, she's attentive, she's checking the kicks, she's fighting smart, she's patient, she's aggressive, but she's patient, and she's aware of that back leg kick, that back head kick from Valentina, the same one that knocked out Jessica Eye. As long as she doesn't walk into something like that, I think we're going to be good here. Zhang Weili's only real loss was to Rose Namajunas, and it was a flush head kick. Shit happens, similar to the Alexa fight. She landed a shot, she fucking jumped on her off of a kick, and she got the rear naked choke on Valentina. Zhang Weili, she got head kicked once, and she got finished. The second fight with Rose Namajunas, she won that fight. Look at the Verdict Global scorecard. Look at, all the media outlets. She won that fight. It's corruption. The sport's retarded. There's nothing we can do about fat, obese judges ringside who have never fought a day in their life. Realistically, she won that fight. She's beat Rose, former champion. She's beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk twice. She also finished her in the rematch. Look at the domination against the top contenders in her former division. Amanda Lemos, Yan Xiaonan, Tatiana Suarez. Like she's dominating these people. And Valentina's having close fights, 3-2 decisions with Manon Fior, a draw with Alexa, a loss to Alexa, split decision with Tyler Santos. She's on the decline, and it just looks like Zhang Wei Li's getting better here. So how I expect the fight to play out is I think it's going to be a battle of I believe Valentina is going to have a very kicking style approach. Zhang Weili is going to be have a very forward pressure, get in her face and land and throw the boxing combinations and mix in the low kicks and even the takedowns here. I think if anyone's going to have success with the wrestling, it's going to be Zhang Weili. So I expect Zhang to go out there. She's going to be on the attack, going forward as per usual. Valentina's going to be looking to land the low kicks. Set up the head kicks, the same one that she threw on Jessica Eye and had success with. And I believe we may see a bit of a feeling out process for Zhang, for sure in round one. So maybe a round one Valentina, maybe even round two's close. But then I think Zhang Weili's got the cardio advantage. She's going to be favoured as the fight goes on. She's going to be the one going forward. She's going to be pressing forward, landing the big punches, going to the body, coming upstairs with that big left hook that she loves to throw. And Valentina's going to struggle, and she's going to get backed up too much. It's going to end up against the fence, and Zhang's going to wear on her in the clinch. She did that very well against Tatiana Suarez. Good knees, good punches, and just ward on her. She's got a massive cardio advantage here. Valentina has looked to struggle in the later rounds as of late. And if Valentina does get pressured up, like I said, this is why I believe that Zhang's going to have the success pressuring forward because Alexa did. And if Alexa did, Zhang can because Zhang's quicker, she's more powerful, and she lands more per minute. She throws longer combinations as well. Alexa Grasso is mainly just a 3-2 type of girl or a 1-1-2. Zhang Wei Li's going 1-1-2, boom, come up, big left hook, 1-1 down, two to the body, big left hook, big right hand, like longer combinations, and especially when Valentina's against the fence backing up. One of those last one or two punches can definitely land and put her out. She does have serious power. Valentina has been dropped by Alexa Grasso, like I said. And with the struggling in the forward pressure and the boxing of Zhang, if she tries to rely on the wrestling, I don't think she's going to have success with that here. Like we saw, Zhang's had very good preparation for Valentina in her last matchup in the sense that she was preparing for a southpaw, which she is here, and preparing for a very credentialed and high level wrestler in Tatiana. So if she can stuff those takedowns of Tatiana, she already just went 5 rounds with the southpaw. It's not like she's fought all these orthodox opponents in a row and now it's a southpaw, not so much used to it. She just came off 5 rounds with a southpaw, one of the best wins of her career, and she was able to stuff all those takedowns from rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5 and dominate her. If Valentina goes to the grappling, she's in trouble. And Zhang Weili has shown that she's very active on the ground. So if Valentina shoots a sloppy takedown, if she's not on her P's and Q's against the fence, Zhang Weili's going to look for those inside trips. She's going to get on top of her and she's going to land ferocious ground and pound. And if Valentina does give up her neck or does give up her back, she's been rear naked choked before, and Zhang Weili has multiple rear naked chokes. Like I said, she pretty much rear naked choked Yan Xiaonan. The fight did continue. It was a bit of a funny situation. That was early as well, I believe, in round one. And then, rear naked choked Carla Esparza, which was very impressive as well, without hooks in and without a body triangle. So to break the fight down, like I said, as a whole in quick simulation, what I believe is going to happen is Zhang Wei Li is going to be the one going forward. Maybe a bit of a somewhat slow start, bit of a feeling out process, just getting the distance right, the speed, the kicks right for Zhang Wei Li. But we're going to see a little bit of a hesitant round one. Round two is where it's going to pick up. Zhang Wei Li is going to be the one going forward. She's going to throw the longer combinations, putting her boxing together. Valentina's going to come forward with a very kicking style approach, and when Zhang's closing the distance, she's going to look to cover up with a high guard back against the fence, and that's when Zhang Weili is going to be able to put those combinations together, going to the body against the fence, even initiating the clinch, landing knees. She's the much more stronger woman here, so she can't even land those inside trips from the fence, get on top of her. She's shown in recent performances, especially against Tatiana Suarez, Amanda Lemos, Yan Xiaonan, that she does have very good ground and pound, and she is very active with it as well. And she does also chase submissions. Valentina Shevchenko needs to be on her P's and Q's with those. And I believe in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, we're going to see Valentina try and mix in the grappling as, she's shown in the past. If she does have struggle with the stand up. She's going to go to the grappling like she did with Alexa Grasso, and she's not going to be able to do that here. Zhang's going to be too forward heavy, pressure, boxing, long combinations, and she's going to be landing on Valentina. Valentina's going to leave her chin up in the air, back against the fence. Zhang's going to work those great combinations, go to the body. Valentina's going to try and get the takedowns in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, and it's going to start to wear on her because everyone knows this. You know, wrestling, it's going to affect your gas tank a lot more than being on the back foot and landing the fucking leg kicks. So she's going to be trying to grapple. Zhang's going to be saying, nah, she's going to stuff all them takedowns. And rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, Zhang's going to wear on her. And, you know, maybe Valentina's going to have some success with the kicks. Maybe she can have success with the low kicks in round 1 or 2. But even if she does have success on the feet and Zhang wants to get the takedowns of her own, I believe she's going to be able to do that. So, official prediction is going to be Zhang Weili to win by 49-46 unanimous decision. I think she's going to dominate here, and I rest my case for why Zhang Weili is the best underdog at UFC 322.